Hi, I'm David Levin, and this is Pop Goes the Culture. Today, the conclusion of my four-part conversation with Christopher Lloyd. We've already talked about Taxi and Back to the Future. Now we'll get into our roundup of his other memorable parts, including Uncle Fester in the Addams Family, and of course, the evil Judge Doom in Who Framed Roger Rabbit. Take a look.
Well, let's talk a little bit more about the Roger Rabbit, if you would, because that was your first big, huge, over-the-top cartoony villain, literally. How did that part come about for you? Was that
Bob Zemeckis asked if I would do it. I was delighted. Yeah.
Was it tough working on that show?
It presented certain things that you don't normally run into. The rabbit, all the cartoon characters. We had when we had these, especially Bob Hoskins, nearly drove him nuts, because he had to fight that rabbit. He had to get in fights with it. He had to wrestle with it. He had to talk to it. He had to pamper it. Every scene was this thing that wasn't there, And they had a pantomime person they made all these cartoon characters, and they had weight, and so you could get a feeling if you pick up Roger Rabbit, how you use your muscles, and then they had this Charlie Fleischer, a wonderful comedian who got dressed up in this wacky outfit to be the offstage rabbit, and do that voice and everything, and it was enormous help. But then there were scenes where the weasels be scattered around, and because of where the camera would be, they had to have they placed people up there with weasel heads or whatever, so that where your line of focus had to be. So, but you rehearse with a dummy weasel or the dummy rabbit, and then take that away and you'd shoot without it, And you look at Charlie Fleischer doing the voice. So it was that was added a lot of work to it. But it turned out great.
What about the scene where you sort of transform into the cartoon? How much of that was shot? I mean, how does that work?
I mean, that's right after I've been steamrolled, right? Yeah. I don't remember exactly. A lot of setup shots and retakes and all that.
Doing the voice at that point, a little stranger. Did they speed you up, or it was just all you?
I haven't seen it for so long. I don't know. I got to see it again.
I
do remember when I dissolved in the turpentine or
right.
Whatever. I remember I think they had a hole in the stage floor, and it was like the drain of time, and I would submerge. As I remember, I would submerge and come out of it screaming, or I would go down into it, one or the other screaming away.
Were you channeling Margaret Hamilton at that moment? Were you thinking about Margaret Hamilton?
Just a little bit.
Let's talk about some of the other stuff. You've done a lot of guest appearances on a lot of shows. I mean, I'm thinking The West Wing, just a great show. What do you when you're looking at West Wing? I mean, what was that like?
I loved it because I was doing a character who was not a caricature. He was not a freak. He was just a professor of foreign relations or whatever it was. So I just love the opportunity to do something where I'm just straight, and straight and intelligent and not wacky and just normal. So I relish that.
You were reasonably normal on Stacked.
Yeah.
That was a fun part.
Oh, yeah.
You want to talk about Stacked a little bit?
Sure.
What did they tell you about that when it first, when that was first offered?
I sat down with Steve Leviton, and he explained what they wanted to do and what the setup was, and that I'm a character, that I'm a regular habitué at this coffee slash bookstore, and I really like the part. I'm very disappointed it didn't have a run, because I think it would have developed for all of us in ways that would have been pretty great. But yeah, this guy comes in there, bachelor sometimes, and more or less pretends not to know, to insulate himself in his newspaper, not know what's going on, but there's always a point where he makes a comment on the issues going on in the coffee shop. Kind of, a retired NASA physicist, very, sophisticated. Probably comes to this coffee shop because it's the only place in his neighborhood, but tolerates it. So.
What was Pam Anderson like?
She's very nice to work with. She's a lovely lady. Works very hard. No airs. She's just.
A surprisingly good comedian, isn't she?
Yeah.
She surprised a lot of people with that show.
Yeah.
The other characters really fun to work with.
Oh yeah. Marissa and Elon and.
What are we missing? Have we missed anything major?
Uncle Fester.
Oh my God! Yes. Wait. Uncle Fester and Uncle Martin. You played two major TV uncles, didn't you?
Uncle Martin.
My favorite Martian.
Oh yeah.
Uncle Fester. Let's talk about Uncle Fester.
Uncle Fester. Well, I grew up on Charles Addams. And we always used to get the New Yorker every week. This is in the 40s, in the 40s and 50s. And I'd always look for Charles Addams cartoons. I really dug his humor even when I was an adolescent, and I loved Uncle Fester. I grew up looking at Uncle Fester. There's just something so kind of manic and mischievous and strange, strange body, round, bald head, and all that. So when it came along, when I was Barry Sonnenfeld called to, I just felt I am in no way Uncle Fester. I'm kind of thin, tall, long face, not round face. I just did not see it. I just did not see how that could be. But I was being asked, so. And we started out with the idea that I was going to wear a lot of prosthetics to give my face the roundness. And then they had a costume that sort of came out. So eventually I would bend my knees some when I was playing the role, and the costume formed kind of a skirt so I could make myself look shorter. But so we did a test shot. Raul Julia, bless him, and myself did a scene together just to test makeup with the prosthetics and costume and all that. And I dreaded it. Because I felt that I just don't know who this character is yet. I don't know what his voice is. I don't know. I'm wearing all this stuff, but I'm not there. I just dreaded doing this makeup test being filmed, because I thought they're gonna fire me, because they're gonna see Chris is nowhere anywhere near it. So I did the makeup test, and a few days later, I got a call. And it's kind of serious. It's Scott Rudin or Barry Sonnenfeld, Chris, we'd like you to come in. We'd like to talk to you. I'm just, figure that's it. And I go to the studio with I forget what, production offices, and there's a lot of people there, men and women, whatever. And there's a guy standing in there who you looked at him, and without doing anything, he was Uncle Fester. He was wearing a long thing that, like cape, kind of, a big coat, went all the way to the floor. He was rather short. He had a bald head, round face. And I looked at him, and I thought, obviously, I'm being replaced. And then I ended up, Barry Sonnenfeld and Scott Rudin, very somberly, they go into the little projection room and they play the scene. And then they turn around and say, the prosthetics aren't working. So I had not, and I was dying. I thought, I'm out of this. So anyway, because they were like, my face looked frozen. It just took away expression and all that. So they dumped that. And I just had makeup, white kind of makeup over my whole head.
Who was that guy standing there?
He was my stand-in. He was hired to be the stand-in for Uncle Fester. But yeah, and I loved doing that. And it's such a great cast. Group. I mean, we were like a family after a while. Just a real
great cast. You get to work with Carol Kane again, I guess.
Yeah.
Was she on the part? In the thing? What was that like with her?
Oh, it was great. We were good friends. We've been friends for a long. Back at the beginning of the interview, I told you that when we were talking about getting into Cuckoo's Nest, that I was in a production of Macbeth, and with Christopher Walken and others, and she was one of the witches.
Perfect.
Yeah.
Perfect.
Going way back.
Oh, that's hilarious. When you were doing the Addams Family movie, how much was taken from the original cartoons and how much was owed to the TV show? Was there a little bit of both going on?
I didn't feel the TV show had any effect on it. I feel the TV show is a different take on the whole thing. I felt it was very true to the original cartoons, and invented situations and all that. But I felt that was the source.
How did you finally sort of find Fester?
Well, I just, after a few days, just sort of thinking hard about him and getting into that mode, and getting into his head. It came after a while. But when I first was at a loss, it was because I just felt we're not anywhere near the same physical type, and the comedy and the fun of that character is this round, roly-poly guy. So I thought, if I don't have that, I got nothing. But we worked it out.
And then there was a sequel.
Yes.
Which was all about Fester at that point.
Yeah. And that was a lot of fun. I mean, that was just great. Great. To go off in that world, in a crazy world, and make it
certainly
real.
That character was hilarious. Just yet another. You also did an episode of Cheers, which was very memorable. A two-parter.
Yeah, the two-parter. I've never seen it.
Really?
Yeah, I've never seen it. But yeah, I'm an artist and have kind of a flirtation with Diane or something like that.
Were you a fan of the show? Had you watched the show or just missed
Yeah,
that episode?
I'm very much a big fan. I love watching that show. But back then, I was aware. I'd seen it a few times, I guess.
And you came on, as I recall, and you were in this Arapaho that they had comments on. You're the first serious threat to Diane and Sam's budding relationship.
Right. Yeah.
Was there a different, a lot of the same people, I guess, from Taxi were on that show, and that show had a sort of a similar vibe to Taxi. Did you find there to be, in terms of on air, was there a difference between Taxi and Cheers? In terms of the vibe, in terms of the work?
John Burroughs, just a wonderful person to work with. He's so fluent with the camera work and knows actors or how to direct actors so well. He's one of a kind. He's like an extraordinary. But he was there. The Charles brothers were on that show. I don't remember whether the last year of Taxi overlapped the first year of it did. Yeah. But there were so many people involved in that show. Rhea Perlman, and there was such a close connection.
Right. Are there any moments from your career that sort of like the ones that you love to tell, the ones that you sort of dine out on every now and again?
I think I told the one about my agent and turning down Back to the Future.
There was a moment in Taxi when E.T. came out, and there was a whole episode that just revolved around Jim's love of E.T. and turning Judd Hirsch's character and turning Alex onto E.T. Do you remember that episode?
God, I don't.
When it was like, E.T. phoned home, and the two of you were like touching fingers together.
Was it in the bathroom? No,
that was another one.
That was another one.
The two of you, Reverend Jim came in, and he was completely enamored with E.T. He had just seen it, and he was horrified and infuriated that Alex refused to see it just on general principles.
Ah, great.
And then finally Alex went to see it, and the two of them are doing like the thing with the finger. But I mean, it just shows you at that moment that E.T. was the biggest cultural thing going on, wasn't it? It was just unbelievable.
Oh, that's a funny thing with Taxi. I remember, just pick what I remember. We all went on a hunting trip, all the guys. I don't think Elaine went. We went to go hunting for turkey for Thanksgiving or something. I don't know. And so they built a cabin. We had a cabin. We were all in the cabin around this table in the middle of the room, wondering where we're going to get a turkey or how to hunt a turkey or something like that. And they had turkeys backstage, right, for another part. But we're all sitting around talking about what to do, about how to get a turkey, and a turkey walks in the door. But it wasn't planned, and I don't think I was in the scene. I think I was standing off observing this. The turkey comes in the door, kind of like that, turns around, walks out. I mean,
you can't write that.
Insane.
It's really funny.
Insane.
Tony Danza told us about a thing that they would do. Was it Actors to the Rail? Do you remember Actors to the Rail or Cast to the Rail?
Yeah.
Something like that. What was that about?
Well, that's it. You get to go to the rail to get notes
right.
after doing a scene. I don't remember what he was.
He said he felt like the cattle were being called.
Oh yeah, it was a fee. You come to the rail, and you're standing there, waiting for to be, criticized.
The word from on high.
I don't know if any of the other taxi people you've interviewed, but we'd have a speed run through sometimes. Like the day we were going to do the show, and we'd do it like we were all rats. Just talk we take this thing and do the whole show like we were a rat, speaking very rapidly.
Oh, that's funny. Where do you? I've asked everybody about their characters. Where do you think Jim is today? What do you think he's doing?
Where is Jim today? Huh. I feel like he might have taken a trip somewhere. He's in the South Sea someplace. Selling T-shirts to the tourists, you know, or he has a little thatched thing somewhere, in Tahiti or somewhere.
Did he ever grow some more brain cells back, or is it pretty much?
Oh, I think he's whatever, nothing grew back, but he's somewhere. He's just sort of doing something with the tourists. Maybe he's a guide on Easter Island.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
None of those people ever heard from again.
Yeah, the guy's explaining these huge heads.
Oh.
Yeah.
Do you remember playing Uncle Martin on My Favorite Martian?
Yeah.
How was that like?
That was great.
You got to really be an alien. Oh my
Yeah.
God, you played so many different types of roles, Nazis and druggies and...
That's why West Wing, just being a human being, was a real thrill.
What haven't you played that's...
I don't know. See what they invent next.
What's next?
That's it for my conversation with Christopher Lloyd. Soon to come, my talk with Leah Thompson. We'll learn what Marty McFly's mom thought of the whole Back to the Future phenomenon. See you then.